Hey guys, welcome to Novotech. I'm Tim, and today I'm going to be going over setting up Ansible to run playbooks with Palo Alto firewalls. I'm going to get started by logging into my lab environment here. All right. So here I've got a GNS3 lab set up using a virtualized Palo Alto firewall and an Ubuntu Docker container. First, I'll go through setting up the environment for Ansible on the Ubuntu image, and then also the Palo Alto modules and dependencies there. First thing we're going to want to do is apt-get install Python. Okay, then we're going to say apt-get install pip. Pip is just a tool that you can then use that to install other Python tools very easily. Okay, now that pip's installed, we can use pip to install Ansible. Okay, now we're also going to use pip to install some subdependencies for the Palo Alto's networks module. I'll provide this in a link below. A key thing here that I realized to get it to work is you need to do the no dependencies, which is --no--deps. Okay, now you can use the command pip list pipe grep for pan, and this just verifies that those three items are there and it's ready to go. The last step here is going to be to use this command to install the Ansible Galaxy module for Palo Alto networks. So that's already installed. I've previously installed it. And then one last check. You can use the Ansible Galaxy collection list and then grep that to, or pipe that to grep for pan OS. And we've got it there installed. Looks good. Okay. First thing of using Ansible, you're going to want to set up your host file. This is usually under root, etc, Ansible, and then host. Since this doesn't exist, I'm just going to go ahead and create that. Actually, I need to create that directory first. And then we can, I'm just going to use echo to create the file really quick. All right. And then I'm just going to populate the IP of my virtualized Palo Alto device here within that host file. All right. Save. Now I'm going to show you what my example script looks like. You'll notice that all of these playbook files are going to use YAML, and it's going to begin with these 3 dashes at the top. I always like to put a description at the top of it, just so I know what's going on and what I was trying to do here. And then I also try to put as much descriptions into individual sections of that playbook. So the first part is going to be prompting for these different variables at the top, which essentially is just your login credentials. So it's going to be the user ID of the firewall, the password, and then this is going to be creating an address object within the firewall. So it's going to prompt for the IP address of that address object. It's going to ask for a ticket number. I always like to use a ticket number to put into the description of the address object, or really any objects that you're creating within the firewall. That way, if you ever need to reference from the firewall why that object exists, you can go back into your source of truth, which is usually some type of ticket system, or why it was being created, the request or stuff like that. All right, next up will be the host name, the port number, and then what site it would be at. And then last would be the environment that's going to prompt for, such as staging, production, or sandbox. Next part is going to be the connection variables. You can see that I have the IP address of that firewall in there again. And then the username is going to use the user underscore ID variable that we created up here. You see that? And then same with the password. It's going to use the prompted variable that we created up above. Now, just a note on this. This is strictly only for testing. I would not use this type of username and password prompts for any type of production systems. What you'd want to do then is hash or encrypt the passwords, or use a SSH key type of system. Something such as Red Hat's Vault would be good for storing encrypted passwords. So moving on past that, the single thing that this playbook is going to do is just to create an address object. So I'm going to go ahead and see if we have that file on our local machine. So here I have that same playbook here is on my Ubuntu machine. And I've got it named as add_address.yaml. So first I want to go over to the firewall and look at its address objects here. And you can see that it's blank. I'm going to go back to the Ubuntu guest, and then I'm going to run the following command, Ansible-playbook. And then the playbook is going to be that one that we had created, add_address.yaml. Push enter. Username is going to be the firewall username, and then password. New IP, I'm just going to say, let's do Cloudflare's DNS servers. And remember our ticket. Ticket number, why not, will be the year 2023. Hostname, cloudflare.com. Port number, 53 for DNS, why not? And then I grew up in Dallas, Texas, so I'm just going to say Dallas. We'll put that in the site as Dallas. And then for the environment, this is a test, so why not do sandbox? All right. You can see here that the Ansible playbook is running. Down at the bottom, you're going to see that it changed one item within the firewall. And so we're going to jump back over into that device and refresh it. And here you can see that it created that address object. We prompted for the port number. There's the port number, 53 for DNS. And then the ticket number, so we'd have some type of reference to go back. And so I'll go ahead and set a link below with that playbook so you can just copy it and start testing from that. This is something that's just super basic. I want you to understand this is just a small building block of what you can do and how powerful Ansible is. Imagine you just fired up a firewall within AWS or a cloud environment and everything's blank on it. All you have is a management IP to SSH into it. So from there, some of the first steps would be to set up the interface IPs. And then you'd probably want to set up some IPsec tunnels. And then you're going to want to set up some security policy. You can do all those configuration tasks through Ansible, which is very, very powerful and helpful if you're having to deploy sites, multiple sites a year. And even if you're just deploying sites even once a year, the thing is, all the code is there, and you don't have to sit back and think like, how did I configure that? It's all documented within Ansible for you there. So thanks for watching. Hope you found this useful. And if you did, please help motivate me to keep this going by liking, sharing, or subscribing.